With my awesome guest, David Ditchfield. Welcome, David.
Hi, Sylvia. Thank you. That was
Yeah.
lovely.
So, David has written a book called Shine On because he had a near death experience. And what happened is it was a tragic accident and he was dragged by a train. He didn't die quite then, but he died in the hospital, right, David?
Well, I didn't actually die outright, but I was just that close to it because I lost an awful lot of blood and I was in a bad way. I was in bad shape, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to let everyone know that this is live and interactive. And if you're watching this on the replay, type in hashtag replay so I know, and I'll look out for your comments and we'll answer them there. Okay, so far we've got a whole bunch of people waiting to ask you questions. I just want to make sure I put the chat up. If you are here watching, would you let us know where you're watching from and get your questions prepared, because this is your opportunity to ask somebody who's been on the other side. And I know, if you haven't seen his interview yet, you really have to, and I'll link it up right here. But I know what he's experienced, and it is one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever heard. And if you have questions about what will happen when you pass away, this is a good time to ask. Okay, so we have Johnny here and we have Frick here watching from South Africa, and Johnny's watching from Sweden. And okay, so
Yeah.
David, as they come along, what I really wanted to do today was give people an opportunity, and I'm not sure what it's like globally, but right here in North America, it's the eve of Halloween, which is synonymous with death and also the spirit world. And I'm not a very superstitious person that way, but I feel like it's good timing to come on. I've got my amethyst on today, and I've got you here. And
Brilliant.
uh, one of the most amazing things, and we've got Shelly watching from Arizona, and we have Leslie watching from Blairsville, Georgia. Don't have my glasses on, so you're going to see me squinting. Um, have you done a live like this before, David?
Yes, I have. Yeah, yeah, I've
Mm.
done a few, but yeah, so that's cool. It's nice. It's nice to sort of have people's questions coming in. So it's lovely. Yeah, to
Yeah,
hear
I've seen that you've been
what.
on a lot of really awesome shows lately. I forget the guy of that one, the recent one. Oh, and he has really portrayed your story in a very beautiful way. We have Yosheli G here. She's always here. She's from Colorado. She just moved to Colorado. Eleven One, Jack is here. Eleven One is from Canada. Simone Albo from London. Isn't that where you're from? That area?
Yeah, not too far from London. Yeah, I was living in London for quite some time actually. I'm now in Cambridge, but it's very close. Yeah.
Wait a second. When we did the interview, were you in Cambridge or you
Oh
were?
yeah, yeah. I've been here for some time now. Yeah, so I was here when we spoke. You've done loads of interviews since, so don't worry. You've probably forgotten, haven't you? You're meeting people from
No, I
all
have
over the
not forgotten. I did
planet.
not. First of all, I'm super grateful for you for doing an interview with me when I very first started, and we got some great views. That was fantastic. But
We
you know,
did, didn't
you
we?
really,
Yeah.
you made a big impression on me, David,
Oh,
because
thank you.
I'm an NDE lover. I'm a near death experience lover. I'm like my audience. I can't get enough of watching NDEs. I've had my own spiritually transformative experiences, but it's a testimony to what's to come. And I think the reason why people can't get enough. Am I too loud here? Can you guys hear me
No,
okay?
no. Oh,
Okay.
oh, sorry. Yeah, you're cool with me anyway.
Perfect. Yeah, so the reason why I think people can't get enough, and I can't wait to share your story today and to answer the questions that people have, but is because we all want to know if we're going to be okay. We all want to
Mm,
know, our future. And it seems like it's the biggest, darkest secret, or I don't know how to explain it if you guys have words for it here, but we all want to know that we're going to be okay. We don't know where we're going because there's this veil and all this
sure.
stuff. But you've
Yeah.
been there, David. How does
Yeah,
that
I've been there.
before we talk about it, how does that make you feel? living life? Does it help you, or do you feel like, like life is the same, even though I know this life is the same?
It helps me an awful deal, actually. Yeah, my life is completely different from what it was before, and it's I never really thought about death that much before, in all fairness. But now I realise that a lot of us don't. We don't address it, and if we do fear it, we don't actually go there and think, well, what's going to happen next? Because it's in Western civilization, it's just not talked about at all. And if you think about it, the whole process of funerals and funeral directing, it's quite a sort of like, oh, are you still there?
No.
Yeah.
I've
All right, I've
somehow,
just
instead of pressing the button there, guys, we're coming. There we go.
okay,
And
cool, yeah,
and keep going, because this was really good what you
yep,
were saying. Yes, go ahead.
yeah. So basically, yeah, my take on it is that we don't really address death at all. I'm not saying we should be chatting about it all the time, but we think about everything else, don't we? We plan for getting married, we plan for birth, and for even taking our driving tests. So why not sort of take some time just to sort of think about the death, so that it's not such a frightening thing, and it's not the end, basically, because that's what I know to be, that it's not. The soul lives on, that our souls are such powerful entities that there's no way that that they switch off like a light. Yes, the body does. The body kind of will stop and decay, but our souls continue on. And everyone who's had a near-death experience like myself will tell you that that place that it does continue on to is absolutely, it's beautiful. It's every single time. It's, well, not every single time, but most times people come back with really beautiful, positive experiences.
Before we get into it, before we get to telling what they have to look forward to, um, I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned something. Oh yes, that we don't talk about death enough.
Yeah.
So I agree. It's like you never talk about it at school. You never talk about it at home. You never talk about it at work. I mean, it's almost like you just don't want to talk about it, because I think some people might feel overwhelmed by it. What do you think? Why do you think we don't talk about it in our culture?
I don't know. I guess we just haven't moved on. For me, I think the funerals, for example, that I've been to, the whole setup of them are so antiquated. It feels almost like from a Victorian era. It's this kind of really, it hasn't moved forward into the 21st century, where things should be open and we should be celebrating that person's life that's
Hmm.
just passed on. We're just not really dealing with it. I don't feel. Yeah. Um, but in other cultures throughout the world, I'm learning now that they do, that they think
Hmm.
about it a lot more, and they celebrate the person who's passing on, and they help the soul to move on.
You
In
know,
fact, I was in. Sorry,
no,
you're gonna say
no,
something.
please keep going.
Yeah, well, I was lucky because I was invited to go out to the south of France last summer, and I went to a retreat that was run by these beautiful people called Holly's Funerals, and they were basically funeral directors that have taken the whole idea of funeral directing into the 21st century. They wash down the body, they do incredible work, and they help the soul to move on, and they also help the family to be part of that in that whole process. And so just seeing that happen gave me so much faith that, yeah, that we could all start to move towards that, and then death would not be such a morbid and frightening prospect.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, when I'm pulling over comments, I'm just acknowledging our awesome audience. My audience is beautiful, just like you. And so I'll pull a comment over. If I don't see your comments, just repeat them, okay? If you have a question I don't answer. That is fascinating that those people do that. I mean, it's frightening and fascinating at the same time. Do you know, David, out of my whole life, um, I always hate saying this. In 5 decades, I only just saw a person who had passed, and unfortunately, it was my mother, and it
Oh,
was
sorry.
just let me tell you, traumatizing. It's been a few years now, so I'm better.
Mm,
And also, when I was younger, my father passed away when I was 27. I didn't see him either. I wished I would have saw my father passing away, because it was the most strangest experience, David. His wallet
Mm,
was there, his glasses were there, his clothing was in his drawers in his closet, and I kept wondering when he was going to show up, because all of his
sure.
stuff was here. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a really good idea for societies to have rituals around it and to talk about it more, so that it makes it like more a more acceptable part of real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And because we all need closure as well. When we, like you saying about your father, you didn't get to see him, and so you didn't get that sort of thing. It's interesting. I remember actually, my sister had two cats. They were really beautiful cats. They were two brothers, and one of them had to be put down because he was riddled with cancer. So the brother didn't realize that he'd gone, and
Mhm.
he was just kind of searching for him, and you could see that he was like really upset and distressed. And so just before we buried him in the garden, we decided to show him. We opened the box lid, and it was just really moving to see this cat just standing there, just looking, and he just needed to glance, and then that was it. He walked away, and his whole mood changed after that. He realized what had happened, that his brother had gone. I
So
think we should
he got
all
to see. Yes, we all need to
have
see them.
we need that closure, don't we? Yeah, we don't need to sort of spend an awful lot of time, but yeah, I lost my mother last summer, and I went into the hospital on the morning that she passed, so I was already there with my sister, and then my brother came and joined us, and I remember we just kind of individually we just went in behind that curtain and just spent a few moments just to say goodbye, and and that was lovely just to do that, because I just come back from France. I'd only been back from that retreat a couple of
Oh,
weeks, so that
wow.
really helped me to sort of
Yeah.
know how to sort of help send her soul on. I just kind of just got her really comfortable, just did her hair a little bit, and just got her really looking good, and then I just leant over and just kissed her forehead just to say goodbye, my last goodbye to her. And as I
Mhm.
did, I just felt like this kind of like an electric jump go straight into my heart chakra as I leant over. It was like, whoa. And there was like a connection that was there. And I thought, wow, that was my mother just saying goodbye. And that was our final thing. And it just felt great because that was my closure. I didn't need to see her anymore. I didn't want to, that was it. I walked out of that, from
Yeah.
beyond that curtain. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. I found it helpful to be at the funeral and to go through the processes, and you know, yeah. So that is death, and I do agree that we should spend more time just at least mentioning it, because it is
Yeah.
part of life. And I feel like we might even be better human beings if, well, I'm making a judgment there, but it it might be better for us to understand that it is finite, it is a gift, it is precious. The earth is precious. This experience is precious, and that we might be more grateful for the experience if we realize that there was an end to it. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's there's been many people that I've spoken to. I didn't realize how many people actually fear death, quite profoundly. There's some people that it keeps them awake at night, and I think what it is, and also people fear who've lost their loved ones. I've had people get some real heartbreaking stories where people have lost their children, and they just kind of scared that they're never going to see them again, or whether they're comfortable and happy on the other side. So it's lovely for me just to be able to give my story and my take on it all, and reassure them that this is not the end of the journey. It's the next stage of the journey is really beautiful, and you'll find completion within yourself as well once you move on to the next stage of life. And that's something that I found, because I wasn't complete within my life before. I was beating myself up an awful lot. I just didn't like the way my life was going. I never fitted in. I never felt comfortable. And I know a lot of us are like that, because a lot of people have written to me and said they felt the same. But once I actually went through the process of the near-death experience, all that went, and all the feelings of guilt or shame or feelings of failure just completely dispersed from me. And it was just the pure essence of my soul that was in that place. And and to be in that moment is just really beautiful. And it's just to know that that's where, like when I was going back to my mother when she passed, I remember turning around to her and I said, "Well, Mum, you're going to love it where you're going now because you are," and that's how I felt, And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all just kind of look at it, at life and death in that way.
Yes. Okay, so we have a good question, lots of good questions, but David Johnson asked one, and we're going to answer that. I wanted everyone to see the book Shine On right here. If you haven't seen it yet,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to pull it open. Great book. Strongly recommend it. He's going to talk about his experience today, David Ditchfield. However, I feel like if you read his book, that you're going to get it in more detail, and it's going to be even more transformative. By reading it. So yes, welcome about that. So the question is, Sylvia, maybe for later, lots of New Agers think we unify with the source and the spirit, and it's indistinguishable from God. Is that true? So when you went over to the other side, did you still feel as an individual, or did you feel like you blended in, or both?
I felt like it was me that was there. Most certainly. I remember looking down to look up to check at my body because it had been very, very badly ripped apart, and everything was fixed. Everything was back in place. There wasn't even a scratch or a bruise, but it was me that I was looking at, and it felt like me that was there. But as I said earlier, it felt like the pure essence of me. It was me without any sort of baggage that I've been carrying emotional baggage that I've been carrying all the years. So, so that was most certainly me. Yeah, if
Yeah.
that answers the question. Is that
I
what you were
have
meaning?
Yes, yes, that's what they were
Yeah,
meaning. And you know something? I
sure.
feel like I'm going to be me too. Like I have no doubt in my mind when I
Yeah.
have my dream experiences, I'm absolutely me. Now it feels slightly different. I feel like I can do and be anything when I'm over there, but the identity of me. And sometimes I even look at myself in a dream and I am a different person, but I'm still that me. So I could be playing out an event in my dream, but I'm very aware that it's still me. When you got back from your NDE, you started making amazing music and painting, right? David, tell us a little bit
Mm,
about that. Look at this. This is incredible.
sure.
Did you paint before?
No, no. I mean, I enjoyed, yeah, when I was at school, like a lot of us, I enjoyed, art and painting and drawing and stuff, but I never took it any further because of my lack of academics, so I couldn't really go. But, so no, nothing like the scale of paintings like I'm doing now at all, most certainly not. What basically this came about is I'd after I'd had my near-death experience, I went into theatre and I was under for about 8.5 hours, I think. And then when I came through, I was just laid in the hospital room on my own. And I just woke up and I was going, wow, what's just happened? First of all, I've just been under a train. I had to deal with that. That was like pretty shocking. And but more importantly, I just had this near-death experience and I knew nothing about it. So I didn't even know that anybody else had what had happened to me. So I thought, I was scared I was going to forget it all. And I thought, how am I going to tell the world about this? And I thought, I've got to record it and let people know. So I thought, I'm going to do a painting. I'm going to do a huge painting, and it's got to be like the huge kind of Italian Renaissance paintings that you see in Rome, in the Vatican, with all those biblical scenes. So that's what I wanted to do. And I made my mind up that I would do that. And so I did. Once I was well enough and I got out of hospital, I started painting and I couldn't stop.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's beautiful. And making music, writing music, like orchestra kind of music. Is that?
That's right, yeah. That's it, yeah, orchestral music. That came along later, yeah. So the paintings came along first, and I suddenly realized that it wasn't just me that was creating these paintings. I was actually channeling ideas through from spirit, if you like, from my guides, and they were helping me. So it was very exciting. Once I started painting these, I wanted to do it on big, huge canvases, and I would stand back every day and I go, wow, that's amazing, but I knew, and I'd say thank you so much, because as I still do actually, because I know that they're helping me. And the
Mhm.
music came later because I'd I'd started going for spiritual healing, and I'd come across that, and some of the healers that were healing me were giving me clairvoyant messages, and they each week they were turning around saying, why am I seeing a violin placed across your chest, and why am I hearing Beethoven and Wagner. Then one of them said, they're telling me that you're going to write a piece of music about your experience. So I thought,
Mm-hmm.
great, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that came about. And I didn't know it was going to be for orchestra. I thought it was just going to be a 3-minute pop song, to be honest with you. But
Mm-hmm.
I never thought or dreamed I'd be able to write for orchestra. But it all developed. And then before I knew it was being performed by an orchestra. Yeah.
That's just proof in and of itself. And you said something about downloading the information or receiving the information from your
That's
guides
right.
to put into your music. Do you know, every time I come to do an interview and I start to feel a little bit nervous or worried, I realize that it's not me and that my platform and my voice is just being used to share a message
Exactly.
of hope and joy and life after. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
I've
you are doing
decided.
that, Sylvia. That's it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
Go
so
on.
I've decided something, David. Instead of interrupting you all the time with the questions, even though it's not an interruption, I want you to write your questions. I'm
Please
thinking
do.
I want to share your experience and then take the time to answer all the questions. So please comment and post your questions, but we're going to get into something real deep here. And I have to say, you're one of the most lovely people that I know. And my
Well,
friend
thank you.
Terry, I've got to mention Terry. She's buying your book as we speak. You're one of the most
Thank you,
lovely
Terry.
people. Yeah, because you're very sensitive. And did that come after your near-death experience, or have you always been this thoughtful and sensitive?
I guess I've always been sensitive. Yeah, I think that's why my life was so troubled before, because I just my sensitivity got the better of me. But I wasn't. But my sensitivity now is completely different. It's on a different level because I'm kind of not in control of it. That's not the right word, but I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with my sensitivity and where I channel it and use it. So but a lot of my friends who've known me for years say that I'm a completely different person. I mean, one of them turned around the other day and was saying, you're always the life and soul of the bar, the pub, or whatever. But now you're an introvert. Which I am. I'm quite introverted, but that's fine. That's because I like to just use my energy just how it suits me.
Yes, yes. I can relate to that. I don't really feel like doing a lot of stuff. I just want to just do some simpler things. There's something I want to talk about. We're on the edge of discovering what happened to you on the other side, but I wanted to share. How did you know that you were dyslexic? Because I have a dyslexia story too, and I wanted to
Yeah.
know, how did you identify that you were dyslexic?
Somebody actually pointed it out to me because I was just struggling so much, and I think when it came to this, it was emails and texts that one of my friends is a writer, and she still jokes about my my texts and stuff like that. And then she said, I think you're dyslexic. I was going, I think I am, aren't I? That's it. But it was a great feeling to know and realize that I am dyslexic, because it's like, that's fine. I can tick that box off, because when I was at school, my teachers just used to write off all these reports saying that I was lazy and that I was troublesome, and that I just didn't care. And that was not me at all. I actually really wanted to learn, but I just couldn't. I just struggled with it, And so I'd find myself drifting off, like a lot of kids who can't focus on something at school. They end up looking out the classroom window, watching birds flying in the sky or whatever, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you're
Mhm.
in the school sort of system, that doesn't go down too well. But yeah, that's how I found out through my friend.
Wonderful. So we were both born sensitive, and they used to say that when they would sing lullabies, I would start to cry in my crib before I could even talk, since if we both had dyslexia. So when I went to school, I wrote all my letters backwards, and same thing. Literally, I got hit for it. It's like, come on, just do it right. And I'm like, I can't do it right. They're all coming. And yet we're sitting here
Yeah.
right now able to eloquently articulate our feelings. So that was our little plug for people. Any of you out there who have dyslexia or know somebody who has it, we are lovely people, and we're not. We're vouching for ourselves.
Get the
Okay.
Sam in there.
So the most amazing thing that I heard you say and has stuck, I think it's actually one of the most amazing things ever I've heard, is you describing the cascade of stars falling in your near-death experience. Let's go there, David. Let's talk about what
Yeah,
happened.
sure. Well, what happened was, do you want me to talk through the whole experience, or to just take to that moment?
I think they all. You guys want to hear the whole experience? I think they do. I want to too.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll start from the beginning then. When I was basically, I was in the hospital in the emergency department. Sorry, at that point, and as I said, I was losing copious amounts of blood. There was a lot of frantic noises going on. Emergency guys, all these figures and science equations going. I need an E45. No, 46. I was going, oh, what does that mean? And so I left that space. And I went into this moment of absolute peace and calmness, and I was in a really darkened space. It felt like a darkened room, but not a foreboding darkness. It was really calm and comforting. And I looked around me and I thought, where am I? And I saw, to start with, the pulsating colors, beautiful ambers and greens and yellows and reds, all pulsating around me. And that felt really calming to know that those lights were there. And it was almost like they were just keeping me relaxed, because I suddenly figured that this was it. I thought, I'm dead. I haven't survived it. I didn't make it, but I didn't resist it. It's not like I wanted to die. I was quite happy to live, but I was very happy being in this beautiful space. And so I allowed myself to go with it. And so I checked out to see where I was. And I realized I was suddenly laid on a huge slate rock. It was like a big medieval altar. And it was huge, but it was very comfortable to lie on, which is really strange, because it wouldn't normally be, because I wasn't wearing clothes either. So, but it was all right, And I was covered in this blue satin sheet, and that was just covering me and keeping me very comforted, And I remember seeing there was this white light that was reflecting off this satin sheet, and I thought, where's that coming from? And I looked up, and above me were like 3 grids of white light that was slowly closing in on me. And as I gazed into that beautiful white light, I just felt that I was being healed from that light. And I couldn't take my gaze away, because it was just so pure. And it was very, very bright, but it didn't matter. I just wanted to keep looking right at it. And so I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I suddenly found that there was somebody else with me. I felt the presence of somebody else there. And I thought, there's somebody here. So I kind of lifted my head slowly, and I looked, and just at my feet, there was this beautiful being, like an androgynous being, just stood there, wearing a simple black contemporary T-shirt, nothing too heavenly, as you would think, just a simple black T-shirt, and with this kind of white blonde hair and this beautiful skin that was just like glowing from within. So there was light sort of coming from within this being. And I felt like I'd known this person all of my life, and beyond. And there was a connection between us. I was literally saying to myself, who are you? I know your face, don't I? And he or she just kept smiling back at me, like reassuringly, So I laid my head back and kind of basked in this beautiful heavenly light that was coming down from these grids. And as time went on, I suddenly felt that there was the presence of more people. And so I opened my eyes again, and I looked, and either side of me there were 2 female forms. One of them was white Caucasian, sort of European looking, again wearing a very simple brown dress and long brown hair. And the girl to my left was more Asian American or Indian American sort of appearance. So American Indian or Asian Indian in appearance. There you go, dyslexia for you.
All good. I love it. I love it all.
So anyway, so that she was wearing more of a traditional sort of dress, and they both had their hands just kind of slowly hovering over my body, and they were healing me. And the energy that was coming from their hands was just really quite powerful, and it felt like an energy of love. It just felt like this, like pure, unconditional love that was just coming from them. And it was so intense that I felt like every molecule of my body was just like, was kind of vibrating with this energy, And then I just thought to myself, well, are they healing my body or my soul? And I figured that, yeah, they were probably healing my body because my body was part of me and part of my soul. But ultimately, I just felt like they were just healing all the years of hurt or pain that I carried, and all those years was being peeled off, and they were just getting down to that pure essence of my soul. And so yeah, so it wasn't too far on after that I started to figure, well, my family had been down in the hospital. They'd arrived and they were really distressed anyway at what had happened. And
Yeah.
then my mum was in tears when I'd last seen her, so I thought they're going to be pretty cut up right now because I've obviously died. So I looked over the edge of this huge rock, hoping to see them, and I didn't see them at all. But that's when I did see this absolutely awesome sight that you asked me about earlier, which was this beautiful sort of waterfall of stars, but it was like a huge, immense sort of. It was like the size of Niagara, and it was like really awesome. And instead of water cascading over the edge and droplets of water, foaming, it was just like millions of stars, and they were just sparkling and just slowly cascading over the edge. And there was like shooting stars just dropping through the middle. So I looked down. I thought, wow, this is amazing. I thought I'm not in a small darkened space at all. I'm actually in the universe itself, and I'm looking down into not just into one galaxy, but into another, into more and more sort of. The further I looked and tried to focus my gaze, I was looking into infinity and into beautiful colors as well. And so it
Wait
was.
there. Wait. Did you guys hear this? So this is what you have to look forward to. You could see all the galaxies. Like, this is not just a story. This happened, and this can happen for you too. I know that we're all individuals, and, but did you have an expectation? Please remember what you were going to say, but did you have an expectation of this? Did you have any expectation of what was to happen when you passed?
Before,
Yes.
when I passed, well, no, not at all. I mean, the whole event unfolded bit by bit, so I had no expectations whatsoever. And like I said to you earlier, I never even thought about death. I never even thought about, is there an afterlife? It didn't even cross my mind. And spirituality wasn't a part of it, or religion. So it's all this was very new to me. So it was like, to me, it was just like an incredible story, just slowly unfolding before my eyes, and not just before my eyes. I could sense so much. There were so many beautiful images and messages coming through to me.
Were you happy? Like, did you feel happy to be there? Were
Yeah.
you in awe? Yeah.
Yeah, oh God, I was just so happy. I was just like, for the first time in my life, I just felt complete. I just felt like I was I was in the moment. The past didn't matter anymore. All past mistakes that I used to beat myself up about are gone, and the future didn't matter. I didn't think about the future. I wasn't scared or worried about the future like I used to be. I was just in the moment, and I just enjoyed being in the presence. And yeah, it was beautiful.
I love how those ladies healed you when you were on the rock, or those androgynous beings. And I
Yeah,
bet you that they were healing both your body and your spirit. And David, I wonder how separate each one of those are. Like, I know you can't necessarily answer this. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It's okay. I'm not putting
yeah.
it on you, but how separate is our physical body from our spiritual body?
It's well, it's interesting because it feels a lot closer to me now since the near-death experience. Because when I first came back, I came crashing back to Earth, but I still felt like there was a part of me very much attached to that realm that I'd just been to, and also because my life now is very spiritual, that I still feel like I'm very close to it and very close to that. But I think we all are, but we just don't know it. I mean, I didn't know it before. I mean, those guides that were there on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
they'd been with me throughout my whole life, especially the first one. That's why I said that I'd known this person, because that is basically like my higher consciousness. That was like my higher self that I was looking at. So we've all got that, and we all carry that around with us, but we just don't realize it. And it's just something that I firmly believe that it's great for us all to try and try to understand. It's quite important, because it's changed my life a lot. And and I don't actually figure that you have to have an accident like mine and a near-death experience to get in touch with your guides and your higher self.
Yeah, that is the beautiful message. I liked how your that person was smiling, like not quite telling you, yeah, I know you
Yeah.
haven't told me your look. I know you better than you think that I know you kind of look, right? How wonderful.
Yeah.
And we all have that. Each and every one of you has that. I'm just going to take this moment for a second. And there are so many beautiful messages here. Amazing story from Christine. Sabrina saying, yes, she wanted to hear the whole thing. Janelle is saying, Sylvia and David, thank you. And yeah, lots of comments, and they're all going to be there for us to look at near the end. Now, so let's take you there. You're going through the galaxies, and for someone like me who likes to travel and explore, I like to explore more than travel. That would be mind blowing. What was it like?
Well, it was, as I say, it was awesome. It was just incredible. It was just amazing just to feel like it was just me floating around on this huge rock in the universe, and then looking at this vast image of, it's amazing. I'm still fascinated by the universe now. I watch so many films and documentaries all about astronauts going into space, and I'm really fascinated to see what they're taking is on going out there. And it's quite interesting, because some of them do actually come back with quite spiritual, sort of life-changing. They're scientists. They're the scientists of all scientists, to get in a rocket and to be able to go to the moon or what have you. But a lot of those guys who went to the moon came back, and they just said, they looked back at the Earth and they just said, wow, that is heaven on earth. The earth is just like, it's beautiful, and they appreciated all its colors and richness and everything. And so they were quite spiritual, a lot of them, which is lovely to see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not only that, interestingly enough, but when I actually, there's about 2 years ago, the Hubble space projector, whatever you call it, that goes and it takes photographs from far-reaching parts of our galaxy, have come back with all these images recently, from their telescope. And some friends got in touch with me, and my sister as well, said, have you seen those new Hubble images that have just come through? And this was like 2 years ago, I think. And I said, yeah. And they go, it's like your paintings. It's your paintings. And I said, I know, because so that was lovely affirmation. That was like what I saw when I looked down into that great vastness of all those galaxies. And that's what I tried to create in my paintings. And to see that, and now from a telescope, from a scientific point of view, is lovely affirmation.
Okay, I really like you. I really trust you. I 100% believe in your experience. I have a question for you. So you saw these stars cascading down like Niagara Falls, and I've been to Niagara Falls, and it's amazing. Um, this might be crazy and out there, but I have to ask you because it's truly a question that's on my heart. So do you think that, so there's spirits that help us and guides and everything, but do you think that, for example, when someone passes away after a long time, they've gone through like a black hole, they've hit the edge, the horizon, the event horizon,
Mm.
excuse me, and they go there and they can't come back. Like that's why we can't see them. Like, is there some kind of like what is that veil? Is it a black hole? Like people talk about a spiraling white light. Every time they
Right.
describe that tunnel and that they
Mm.
can't go past it, do you think it's related to anything like that?
Well, I mean, for me, I actually saw that white tunnel, yeah, and that was like a really profound moment for me, because I didn't actually pass through it either myself. But when I saw it, the what I realized was that it was huge, and it was the white light that was coming from it was the same white light that was coming from these grids, but it was a lot more intense because it was very big, and there was an energy coming from this white light, and it was like the same energy of unconditional love that was coming from it. There was like flames that were like slowly circulating all around the perimeter or what have you. And I just thought, this is remarkable. After seeing the waterfall, this was even better, because what I realized, what I was actually looking at, this tunnel of white light, uh, I was being told, this is the source of all creation. This is God. It's not the image of God that we normally pray to, which is in some kind of human form, whatever most of our faiths are. It's actually a tunnel of white light. And so I didn't feel any sense of I wanted to pass through it. All I wanted to do was just really soak up all this beautiful energy of love that was coming from it. And it was incredibly awesome. And I just remember thinking, wow, there you go. I believe in God now.
Yeah, I believe in God now. Amen. Excellent. That you were able to have that experience and actually bring it here. Like in one of those black holes, light can't even escape it. And it is kind of where everything goes in to get recreated. Now, that's just only my thoughts. That's not your experience. I'm just explaining. But so that was even cooler than watching the cascading stars. Wow, I can't believe you got to see God.
Well, that's what I figured, and so that's why it was the most important part of it for me, because I figured that I'd got enough information at that point, because it was pretty soon after that I came crashing back to earth into my body, and but that was enough for me, because everything that my paintings and my music has all been focused around that. The actual first painting I did was I wanted to paint that light, and you can see it there on my book cover as well. But the first symphony that I wrote for orchestra is actually called The Divine Light, and it's all about my journey, throughout the whole near-death experience from start to finish. And again, I was being led. That's it. Yeah, that's another image of it. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I just gotta bring this out. So this is where you were, and I guess it could never be exactly like what it was, but you could, kind of get an idea, you guys, of what he was experiencing through his art and through his painting. Thanks so much. I'll put that down now. There you go. And you could talk. So you went there, you experienced this, it moved you, it changed you. Was it like an immediate transformation for you?
It was totally. As soon as I come back, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you must have been really disappointed to come back after being in this beautiful place." But I wasn't, because I was so charged with all this wonderful energy that it stayed with me, very much so at the very beginning. So throughout my recovery in hospital, I could hardly move. I was, they'd given me my own room in the hospital, and I was just wired up with all these tubes and stuff, and family and friends would come and see me, and they'd just say, "Wow, look at you. We just expected to see worse, but you can't move. Yeah, you look pretty banged up badly, but you're radiating all this energy, and all this positivity, and it's just, we've never seen it on you before." My friends were saying, it's like you're animated, So it was remarkable. So I very much had a lot of that energy and that love still with me. So, and it's never gone. It's it's changed my life, and it's just changed my whole perception. And it's kind of given me, I guess, the way I see it, a more three-dimensional sort of view of the world and life and how we live it.
Speaking of that, I didn't prepare you for this, so you don't have to answer. That beautiful ball of earth that's floating around right now has a bunch of people on it, and the people are really heated up right now. Lots going on. You got a piece of advice for us spiritually? Do you have an outlook?
Yeah, I do, actually, because when this all happened, when it first started, it was interesting, and I felt the energies. It really affected me, and it felt like the whole earth had just been stopped and knocked off kilter, and it was really odd. I thought, what is going on? Just like all of us. But I know everybody panics to start with. Everyone was stripping the supermarket shelves of toilet rolls and all that stuff. But after a bit, it calmed down, and I was really glad, because I thought, look, just stop. This is not it. This is something that happens throughout evolution. We've had ice ages, and we've had tsunamis. We've had far worse. So we're all it's awful that we've lost people. I've got families members who've been affected by this as well. So I'm not sort of underplaying it, but it is, at the end of the day, just looking at it in the grand scheme of things, it's an opportunity, I feel, for us all to stop and to realize that adversity can also bring change, and I feel that change is about to happen for us, and I actually feel positive about it. I think it's going to take us into a new era, and it really will. We just got to be patient, you know. Far too many of us are getting frustrated and saying, I just want to get back to normal, you know, but there is no getting back to normal. We have to accept that the past is gone now, and it's like it doesn't exist anymore. And you know, when I said about when I felt in the thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I said that I felt that when I was in my near-death experience, that I'd forgotten all about the past and I wasn't worried about the future. That's how I feel we need to be now. Just live in the moment, because if you stop and all of us look around us where we're sat in this moment in time and say, actually, it's okay. Well, I'm all right. You know, I'm still alive. Well, most of us probably, some of us probably may be suffering. So I don't want to again underplay it. But generally speaking, if you stop and look and think, hang on a sec, just be in the moment and live it through it, and you know, it'll give us chance to sort of find our feet again.
Yes,
We
yeah.
will.
And it's like, yes, I agree with you 100%. Like if you just took away all of the, and again, I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. I just want to state mine. If you took away all of the conversation right now about everything that's happening and you just left the moment and each other, it'd be a nice day. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
it wouldn't be a certain time. And I don't want to downplay everything that's happening right now. So I'm going to leave that at
No.
that. But I will say that people like you are bringing light. Could we elect you president of the world? Of the earth, so
Oh
that you
dear.
could
Yeah.
you could dispense us this wisdom and insight into what really is, what reality really is. So how can we love each other more?
Oh, how can we love each other more? I guess really, it's by realizing that okay, if we don't like people, we, you know, this, you look at war, for example, you know, war is just like crazy. It's like people are suddenly just being thrust into a situation where they've suddenly got to learn how to carry a gun, they've got to learn how to use it and then kill somebody that they don't even know, that they don't even feel any malice for, which is crazy, you know. And it's just it's it's so easy to sort of build up sort of resentment towards like a tribe, if you like. Say, oh yeah, we don't like those people because they're this side of the road. Oh, that's because they're that color, or that, or they're speaking that language, or that's their religion, that's their faith. So we don't like them, which is all stoked up by the media and what have you. And I just kind of feel that we just need to stop and think, do I really dislike that person? You know, maybe just give them a chance and realize that it's only ego that is forcing that kind of negativity, if you like. And whereas love comes from within, it comes from a purer place and comes from our hearts. And if we can just get in touch with that and just stop and
Okay.
let that love come through, I guess.
Beautiful. So basically, what I heard you say, and I'm translating it in my words, is that it's us hanging on to our belief system so tightly that it matters more than the next person, or that's what the mistake is.
It's, I think, just like I say, just the mistake is that we're letting the ego sort of control how we respond to somebody. You know, it's like
Okay.
I remember I was driving. Yeah, here's a better example actually, rather than talking about war, because it's a bit obvious, isn't it? Driving in cars, when we're driving around, you know
Your
that.
British humor and conversation is so enchanting. It's a bit obvious, isn't it?
But
Yes.
okay, here's a more day-to-day example. When we're driving in our cars, all of us, we all have it, you know, where some guy will cut us up, and then we pip our horns, and then they say something back, and hey, you know, and it's all throwing all this sort of like sort of immediate sort of dislike and almost hate towards another person just because that's happened, sort of thing, which is crazy. And I remember I was just one day I was in a situation where I was going down a very narrow street, and a guy in a truck was coming towards me, and it was like a duel. It was like, who's going to give in, you know, kind of thing. And I thought, right, he's not going to give in, surely. And so we just kind of like, oh, we came to that point, you know. And he wound his window down and started just throwing all this verbal abuse at me, and
Yes.
I don't know why I did it. I just kind of turned around and I just blew a kiss at him. And I don't know why I did that. And it was great because I did it.
That is so
And
wonderful.
and
Did
he
you
just
do it?
stopped. And it's almost like it's like he'd caught him. He just laughed and he just kind of like, he waited and moved on.
Did you guys hear that? He blew a kiss at him. That is so amazing. I love it. Okay, somebody said here something. Let's see. Sociable Graces. Hello, Sociable Graces. She's also a member, which is awesome. Thank you. Divine love, once gifted, is everlasting, and you do not need an NDE to get there. True. Key, abandon all ill will. Yes, abandon all ill will. Well, just like you just need to blow them a kiss, like David suggested. We could do it the British way. Blow them a kiss. Honestly, yes, it is really that simple, isn't it? It's those day-to-day things that happen that can escalate into more. And yeah, I think that we're going through a big evolution. I also am
Mm,
optimistic about the outcome. I'm so glad that you
Christ.
came here to speak with me. Yes, were you going to say something before? Let me
Mm.
know when you're ready to read the questions, because I can read some questions whenever you're ready.
Yeah, please do. You read the questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll read some comments. I'll start from the bottom, move to the top. Brenda sends you a heart. And David
Oh,
says, sociable, that's perfect. And sociable said that she was the one who I just read out. I'm assuming that's a she, but that abandon all ill will. And oh my goodness. And has David had any messaging about what his life purpose is? And earlier, he also asked the question, have you received any messages from your mother? So have you received any messages at
mm.
all about that? You can let me know.
Yeah. Well, my mother actually. Yeah, I feel it. I'm not clairvoyant, but I know that she's around me. I definitely know she's there. I feel it. And there's lots of little signs and signals. If I'm stressed out or something's happening, there's little things that I get to know now that I know she's there. So which is lovely. In fact, the morning that she passed, I knew she was there because I got a phone call from the hospital and there was a very frantic sounding doctor saying, your mother's just had a massive heart attack, you better come in. I said, okay. And I jumped in the car and it was like it was a sort of 20-minute, half-hour drive. And I got in and this beautiful piece of music by Gustav Mahler came on. It's one of my favorite pieces. And it just, I swear, when I turned the ignition on, it was on the radio and it was right from the start. And I thought, oh my goodness. And it just calmed me. And I knew she'd passed because I thought, Mom, you just put this on for me, haven't you? Just to keep me calm for my drive to the hospital.
Did
So
I
there
just
you go.
say you believe in signs and synchronicities?
Yes, totally. Yeah, big time. Synchronicity is a massive one. I've had so much of that happen in my life. I mean, I wouldn't have had that piece of music performed by an orchestra without lots of different forms of synchronicity happening to bring that together. I just by chance met a cello player who used
Mm-hmm.
to come and see me paint. Who was going to yoga classes at my friend's yoga center, where they'd given me this room up in their attic in their Pilates center. So people used to come up. I was the artist in the attic, they used to call me. So they used to come up and see my paintings. And I met this cellist. So we used to meet for coffees. And so, I just got chatted to her saying, yeah, this is what I'm up to. I've written this piece of music. I think it could be played by an orchestra. And she said, well, maybe we could do it one day. I was like, okay. So I held her to that, and then it came together. There was loads of other little things that happened that made that happen, and the BBC wanted to come down and interview me. They got wind of it. Again, synchronicity, which meant that the concert itself sold out like 2 weeks in advance. So the atmosphere that night was just incredible. It was just really beautiful. And I felt that that's when I knew that I was getting my message across, not just through paintings, but through music as well, and to a lot more people. There was like a lot of people there that night, and people came up to me afterwards, and that was the first time I'd met strangers who were coming up saying, "Look, something like that happened to me also," or "I've just lost my brother," or what have you, and that really helped me. Just so it was that was a turning point for me. That was, yeah.
Wonderful. This is wonderful. So I feel like you have a renewed sense of confidence, love, joy, happiness because of your awareness has expanded and you're receiving all this help. Can we receive this help too? Can my audience be receptive towards it? And what's a
Yeah.
tip? How can they facilitate it?
I would say just to try and find some forms of of peace, meditation or yoga, Pilates, or I go to spiritual healing, and that is brilliant. Not many people seem to know about spiritual healing, but it's really lovely and it's great. It's to me, that's my closest I come to actually connecting with that place I went to, that realm, and to my guides, and to God, and it's incredible. And I just, when I go there, everything just goes. I walk through that door, and of course I've got, like all of us, I carry in worries and concerns with me. But as soon as I sit down and go into that healing space, everything goes. I just kind of like connect with spirit, and I'm suddenly grounded, and the future and the past again doesn't matter anymore. So it's worth trying to find that kind of connection. Yeah.
I got one more question for you, and then we're going to wind it up. Simone Albo says, I read that when we pass, we don't change our nature. We are exactly the same. We are 5 minutes before we pass. I got some EVP. Okay. So I think you answered that question before, like you were the same person, at least during that experience you had, correct?
Yeah, I was the same person, but I wasn't at the same time, because the person that was leading the life right up to that point was carrying around an awful lot of guilt and shame, and a lot of self hate, actually, not hate, but a lot of self dislike. I was
Loathing.
disappointed with myself throughout my life, so all that had gone. So that wasn't with me. So all that was left behind.
I am so glad that you came today. And
Oh, thank you. Me
this
too.
self-loathing, by the way, or hate, or whatever you want to call it, it is kind of hard to believe because I can just feel the love from you. I mean, I love talking to you.
Thank you.
But I
Me too.
understand, and I want to bring this up because there may be some people watching right now who feel that way, not enough, or just never meeting the mark, or unable to do it. Can you say something to that person?
Yeah. I'd say that, first of all, try and stop and recognize that a lot of that self-loathing has come from other people. They put that on you, and they probably haven't meant to either a lot of the time, because a lot of the time it's people who are very close to us. It's people who love us have done that to us. But not just that. It's something that's gone. It's gone from beyond. It's gone from past lives, our ancestors and stuff like that. There's this energy that stays with us and carries and continues, and we're carrying that, and it doesn't belong to us. So try and recognize that doesn't belong with you.
Oh, okay.
And
Did you
yeah.
hear what he said? That it could be generational and that you're carrying that vibration and that energy into this life, and then you're attracting these things. So, do you believe that? That you come here and you're vibing at that vibe due to familial vibration, and then you're attracting these, because if you have, like, if you're vibing, I'm talking about myself, so not you, but you're vibing at that victim rate, so to speak, or maybe a low self-esteem, and then you're attracting people who are treating you in the same way. And the way to empower yourself is to find yourself and be authentic and stand up and get stronger. True or not true?
Absolutely true. That word authentic, that's one word that I haven't used in this chat, and that's one I use a lot, because it's be true to yourself, be authentic to yourself, because you'll find that once you do that, that your life will just suddenly start to, it'll open out for you. That's what I found with myself anyway, because before I wasn't being authentic. Because of my self-loathing, I was aspiring to be something else. I was looking at other people and I thought, I want to be like you. No, I want to be like you. And I just, of course, you're just acting if you're trying to be like somebody else. And once you stop and just think, no, actually, I want to be like me. I want to just be me. And once you do that, the law of attraction really just open up, and then doors will slowly open in front of you, instead of the ones that you were banging at to try and get through, trying to push them. They won't open, whereas they will open once
And
you
we
once
love
you're
you.
authentic
We
to
all
yourself.
love you. Do we love them? Do we love them, group? We all love you, David.
I love you, Sylvia. You're fantastic. You're brilliant.
I
You
love
really
you
are.
too,
You've
and
got an amazing spirit.
me and my audience, we're all one, so we're all coming at you with waves of love. Okay,
Ah, thank
so
you.
we're gonna wrap it up here, and I just want to thank you. We've been here for exactly 1 hour. I mean, we couldn't have
Oh,
timed this better. It's exactly. We're sending you our love. We're thanking you for your words of wisdom. We appreciate it. People are going to be
pleasure.
buying your book because for two reasons. One, they want to hear that story in detail because I know there's lots that wasn't said today. Two, because it is supporting you on your mission to share the
Mm.
universe, the universal message of love with everybody. Please let's support David Ditchfield. Thank you.
Yeah, please do. Thank you so much.
So long. Bye, everyone. We'll see you soon. And if you're watching this on the replay, don't forget to post your comments and we will reply to you there. So long.